Hello and welcome to Web API Tests video. In this video we'll review Magento API tests, create a test, configure and run it. Web API tests in Magento can be found under Dev Tests API functional directory. The tests that are covered in core modules are located inside test suite. Before running API functional tests on your instance, you have to specify a connection to Magento. That can be done in config directory. There is an example of configuration in install config mysql.php.dist file. You can copy this file without dist extension and specify your credentials. That credentials should point to Magento instance that is running on web server, so that API framework can connect to it over HTTP. Finally, make sure to use PHP unit from API functional directory for your PHP Storm configuration to run this test. Let's create it. We are going to create Web API test inside our module directory. And for this purpose, I created API namespace under test and already prepared a fixture in _files directory. The fixture is almost the same as we used for integration test. So it also prepares products and creates order from them. The order is created with lucky grand total and saved. No more operations here. In comparison to integration test, for this test we don't need to put order to session. Now let's create the actual test. Order luck info test. The test class should extend Magento test framework test case Web API abstract in order to reuse the features provided by abstract layer of Web API test framework. First, let's create a function to retrieve an order ID created by fixture. It would be private function get order ID. Here I will create an object manager instance that is call to Magento test framework helper bootstrap and get object manager method. Now using object manager we'll get an order. Object manager get the instance of order model and load by increment ID and specify increment ID used in fixture. So it's 1. Let me actually copy it. Finally, we return order get ID. Good. Now we are ready to create the test. Its public function test is order lucky. Here we can, even on the first line, perform the Web API call. So information we are going to check is order lucky. So is lucky equals this call to abstract layer underscore web API call, and I have to pass configuration here as an array. Well, Magento provides an ability to test SOAP and the REST APIs at once. For this test, I will specify just REST credentials. So REST, I have to pass resource path that is /version1 /is order lucky and one param that is order ID from the function we created earlier. And the second item in that array is HTTP method, that is get. Now the only thing is remaining is actually asserting that the order is lucky. That's it. Let's run that test. So the test passed Thank you for your attention, and in the next video we'll go through functional tests in Magento.